Good morning. My name is Sally Talberg. I'm Chairman of the Michigan Public Service Commission, and I call this meeting of the Commission to order on June 30th, 2020 at 10:30 a.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairman Talberg.
Present.
Commissioner Scripps.
Present.
Commissioner Phillips.
Present.
Madam Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We're holding this meeting using Microsoft Live Event. It's compatible with all browsers except Safari, and telephone relay service is also available through the phone option. We will call out participant names before speaking to support those listening only by phone and using the relay service as indicated. And so it can be a little slow as we move from person to person, but bear with us. As indicated in the notice for today's meeting, if we lose connection, the commission will be considered in recess. And we'll attempt to reestablish a connection, but if we're unable to do so within 30 minutes, we'll adjourn the meeting.
The Michigan Public Service Commission, and I call this meeting of the Commission to order on June 30th.
All right, sorry about that. Decisions made prior to the disconnection will be binding, and other business will be handled at a future meeting. We will not recess or adjourn due to technical issues experienced by individual members of the public. The meeting will be recorded, however, and available for future reference on the Commission's website. And in addition, the Commissioners can receive comment at any time via the email mpsc_commissioners@michigan.gov, and that email is also on the meeting notice for today, available on our website. And for reference, the other point I wanted to make just from the outset, for those of you that may have intermittent internet service and challenges with video, you should consider listening to the meeting via telephone, not the computer. So if there is an interruption, you can avoid missing part of the meeting. Another option is to watch the meeting through your internet service with the sound muted and then listen to the audio from your phone. But please keep in mind the video feed has a slight delay while the telephone service is in real time. We will have an opportunity for the public to make comment as provided in the agenda. Just a few notes about this before we get started with our business agenda. I'm just checking if there's feedback. All right, we'll continue to proceed. So comments should be limited to one per person and can be made verbally by calling in or writing via the live stream Q&A feature. If you're participating using the Teams application, the Q&A feature, you can type your comments in the box at any time during our meeting today, and we'll have those queued up to read. The Q&A function should also be used to request technical assistance or to submit, or you can use it to submit the public comments directed to the commission. And if you'd like to make verbal comments, you must call in to the meeting by phone, and to minimize disruptions, attendees will be muted until we reach the time for public comment. So with that, and I'll go over a few more details in the public comment when we get to that part of the agenda. Our first order of business is approval of the amended agenda for today's special meeting. For the record, I note that the agenda and the public meeting notice were posted to our website and distributed on June 11th, 2020. And since that date, there have been a few changes to the agenda, and an amended agenda was posted to our website and distributed yesterday afternoon. We removed some of the cases which will be handled at subsequent commission meetings. And I'll recognize Commissioner Scripps for a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for the approval of the amended agenda for today's commission meeting.
And I'll recognize Commissioner Phillips.
Second.
Are there any discussion? All right, we'll have a roll call vote on the motion to approve today's amended agenda. Commissioner Scripps?
Aye.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote and the amended agenda is approved. Next up, we have the approval of minutes from the June 10th, 2020 regular commission meeting, and I'll recognize Commissioner Scripps.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for the approval of the minutes from the June 10th, 2020 regular commission meeting.
Commissioner Phillips?
I second the motion.
Any discussion? We'll have a roll call vote on the motion for the meeting minutes. Commissioner Scripps?
Aye.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote, and the commission meeting minutes of June 10th, 2020 are approved. The next item of business on the agenda is approval of we have one order on the consent agenda, and today the commission is assisted by staff attorney Caitlin Mucci. I'll recognize Ms. Mucci.
Good morning. Today's consent agenda consists of one electric matter. The proposed order for this matter has been thoroughly vetted by the Commission's technical and legal staff and is ready for your approval.
I'll recognize Commissioner Scripps.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for the approval of the order on today's consent agenda.
I'll recognize Commissioner Phillips.
Second.
Any discussion? Have a roll call vote on the motion to approve the order on the consent agenda. Commissioner Scripps.
Aye.
Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote and the order on the consent agenda is approved. We'll go back to Ms. Mucci for item 4A1.
Item 4A1 is case number U20845, which involves a matter on the Commission's own motion, initiating an action to require SynergyCom.net Incorporated to show cause why it should not be found in violation of the Michigan Telecommunications Act. The order before you directs SynergyCom.net Incorporated to appear at a pre-hearing conference before an administrative law judge and to pre-file testimony and evidence.
I'll recognize Commissioner Scripps.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20845.
Commissioner Phillips.
Second.
Before we go to vote, I just want to acknowledge the work by staff to bring this to the Commission's attention in a timely manner. It's really important. We recently concluded a discontinuance of service for a telecommunications provider over the past couple of months and appreciate the hard work of staff to navigate that process, work with the provider and customers to bring about a successful resolution. We're hopeful that that will also occur here, but it's important that we take this action today in order to ensure that customers are protected and that they have comparable service. All right, with that, we'll go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Scripps?
Aye.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
And I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote, and the order in case number U20845 is approved. All right, back to Ms. Mucci.
Item 4B1 is case number U20763, which involves an application filed by Enbridge Energy Limited Partnership for authority pursuant to Public Act 16 of 1929 and the Commission's Rules of Practice and Procedure, Rule 447, to complete the Straits Line 5 replacement segment. Staff member Alyssa Day will describe this order.
Good morning, Commissioners. The application in case number U20763 involves a request by Enbridge for authority to construct a replacement segment of its Line 5 pipeline that crosses the Straits of Mackinac, known as the Line 5 project. In its application, Enbridge explains that Line 5 was constructed in 1953 to transport light crude oil and natural gas liquids, some of which are converted into products that are used by Michigan citizens and businesses. Enbridge states that Line 5 is a 645-mile interstate pipeline that spans Michigan's upper and lower peninsulas. Although the majority of Line 5 is constructed of 30-inch diameter pipe that traverses land, the segment that crosses the Straits of Mackinac consists of two 20-inch diameter pipes that lie on top of the lakebed. This section of Line 5 is known as the dual pipelines. According to Enbridge, the Line 5 project is routine maintenance, a replacement of a small segment of Line 5, and a minor relocation to ensure the safety of the pipeline. Therefore, Enbridge requests that the Commission issue a declaratory ruling that it already has the authority to construct the Line 5 project because of the Commission's grant of authority in the March 31st, 1953 order in case number D-3903-53.1, which approved the original construction of the Line 5 project. On April 22nd, 2020, the Commission issued an order in this case establishing a comment period that was specifically limited to comments providing a legal analysis of the issues presented in the request for a declaratory ruling. The Commission received thousands of comments from members of the public and interested groups expressing both support for and opposition to the Line 5 project. The order before you finds that based on the information provided in Enbridge's application and the relevant comments received, the Line 5 project differs significantly from what was approved in the 1953 order. The Line 5 project proposes to replace the existing 20-inch diameter dual pipelines that lie atop the lakebed with a new 30-inch diameter single pipeline that will be relocated to a concrete-lined tunnel 60 to 250 feet beneath the lakebed of the Straits. The Line 5 project also involves a new easement and a 99-year lease of public trust property. While the order before you grants Enbridge's request for a declaratory ruling, the order finds that Enbridge does not have the requisite authority to construct the Line 5 project pursuant to the 1953 order. Although Enbridge filed an application in this case, it argued that the application was not required because the Line 5 project involves simple maintenance, replacement, and relocation to ensure the safe operation of a previously approved Act 16 pipeline. The order before you finds that based on the characteristics of the Line 5 project, Enbridge is required to file an application pursuant to Act 16 and Rule 447 1C and Commission precedent to obtain Commission approval to construct the Line 5 project. Finally, in the event the Commission denies the request for declaratory relief, Enbridge requested the Commission not conduct a contested case proceeding and instead approve its application on an ex parte basis. The order before you finds that the Line 5 project involves significant factual and policy questions and a complex legal determinations that can only be resolved with the benefit of discovery, comprehensive testimony and evidence, and a well-developed record in a contested case proceeding. And due to the significant public interest and concern regarding the Line 5 project's potential environmental impact on the Great Lakes, the order before you finds that it is in the public interest to conduct a contested case. Therefore, the order before you denies Enbridge's request for ex parte approval and sets the matter for hearing. The order states that the notice for hearing will be forthcoming with further instructions regarding the date, time, and location of the pre-hearing. In addition, the order finds that a public hearing should be held on August 24th, 2020 to receive public comments regarding the Line 5 project. The order states that formal notice will be forthcoming in this docket with additional details. Furthermore, the order states that the notice of public hearing will be shared through other communications, such as the Commission's dedicated Line 5 webpage and email distribution list. The order states that interested persons are encouraged to visit www.michigan.gov/MPSC Line 5 for up-to-date case information, instructions for applying to participate in the case, and subscription instructions to receive email updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Day. I'll recognize Commissioner Scripps for a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-20763.
And Commissioner Phillips.
I second the motion.
Before we turn to the roll call vote, I just want to make a couple comments. First of all, I appreciate all of the thoughtful comments that were submitted to the Commission as part of our consideration of this request for declaratory ruling. There was just a lot of feedback. We received thousands of comments from the public as well, and it helped inform our decision today. I also want to acknowledge the work that's been done by the Commission staff really over the last couple of years to improve the Commission's transparency and accessibility to the public. We've taken a number of steps, some directly recommended by environmental groups in relation to changes to citing procedures at the Commission, such as allowing for direct notification when filings come into our dockets, so that it's easier for the public and other organizations to monitor cases before the Commission. And there's been other efforts such as establishing a small communications group that can help us develop the website, provide communications through email updates and other forms of communication to the public, including social media. And so I just really appreciate a lot of steps that the Commission has taken, and particularly the staff, to ensure that that the public and other organizations understand what's before the Commission and have an opportunity to weigh in. We also, just, a reminder, Ms. Day mentioned this in her comments teeing up the order for consideration by the Commission today, but I just want to reiterate that we will be communicating through an email group listserv. Anyone can go to the website. It's www.michigan.gov/MPSC Line 5 to sign up for that listserv, and we'll have information about the upcoming August 24th public hearing, as well as other developments. And we will also send a notice out when the order from today's meeting is available. That website has a lot of other background information and will be continuously updated as we move forward with the contested case portion of this proceeding. And with that, I'll just check with Commissioner Scripps and Phillips if they have any additional comments.
Not at this time.
Nope. All right. So we'll go forward with the roll call vote. Commissioner Scripps.
Aye.
Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion, and the motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U20763 is approved. And we've now reached the time reserved for members of the public to address the commission. Again, if you'd like to make comment and have access to the Teams live stream Q&A feature on your computer, please enter your name and your comment, and then we'll read them aloud to the commissioners. And we've got staff assisting us, Ms. Cole, to help with that effort. The feature is on the right-hand side of the control. If you're not familiar with Teams, it's on the right-hand side of the control bar next to the mute button. And as a reminder, the Q&A feature is intended for public comments directed to the commission, or if you have a technical issue, not to engage with other participants or respond to their comments. And after taking comments through this feature, we'll open up the phone line for those of you that called into the meeting and would like to address the commission verbally. If you want to be queued up for the verbal comments and you're participating in the live stream as well, you can enter your name into that Q&A feature and indicate you wish to make a verbal comment. We'll take those comments first in the order received, and then open up the phone lines. And after, just a couple of other comments. Note that you can only make verbal comments by calling into the meeting, and that information's on the website and with the meeting notice. When it's your turn to speak, please press *6 on your phone to unmute your phone. And as a reminder, again, that this is the public comments for the commissioners to listen to comments and concerns and not answer specific questions. We also have a lot of other opportunities to provide input, particularly on this line 5 case that's before the commission, where they can be submitted in writing directly to the commission through our website and into the docket, participation at the upcoming public hearing, and other avenues for providing input. And when you're providing comment, I just ask that you indicate your name and where you live if you're willing to share, so we have that for our records. And we don't know how many comments that we'll receive today. We've set additional time aside on our agenda in anticipation of comments, but we'll ask you to try and keep your comments brief and no longer than 3 minutes, so we have a chance to hear from all those who would like to comment. We will also have a recording of all comments made, and that will be stored at the commission. We will do a warning about 30 seconds out as you approach the time limit. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Cole and to see if there's comments in writing to start with.
Good morning, commissioners. Yes, we do have some comments queued up in the live event Q&A window. We'll begin with Mr. Huff. He says, my name is Wes Huff from Kalamazoo with a vacation home on Lake Michigan in Leelanau County. State residents should not expect a private for-profit corporation to have similar custodial interests for our natural resources as the Michigan Public Service Commission must have. It is foolish to rely on Enbridge to self-police its environmental actions. The MPSC must not relinquish its oversight authority to Enbridge. Conditions in 2020 are far different than they may have existed in 1953. Even if Enbridge did not have its prior record of poor pipeline maintenance, the Great Lakes are too important a resource for the state of Michigan to forgo oversight of any further pipeline or tunnel construction. Thank you, Mr. Huff. Our next comment is from Donna Hornberger. Ms. Hornberger says Enbridge should not be allowed to build a tunnel. They are not trustworthy. Look what happened to Line 5 last week. Thank you, Ms. Hornberger. Our next comment is from Lisa Petrell. Ms. Petrell says regarding U20763, no question. Thank you for citing the necessary discovery. We have a couple of commenters wishing to speak verbally by phone. We'll get to those when we finish reading these written comments. Our next comment is from Bay Mills Indian Community. Bay Mills Indian Community would like to thank the Michigan Public Service Commission for recognizing the importance of this issue to public, the state of Michigan, and the sovereign tribes with vested treaty rights within the Straits of Mackinac. We appreciate the Michigan Public Service Commission seeing the need to study the permit application more thoroughly through the contested case proceeding. Thank you. I'm scrolling down and we do not have any further written comments at this time, but we do have a line of people who would like to speak over the phone. Would you like to transition to the phone at this time, commissioners?
Yes, please. And just a reminder to hit *6 before you unmute. And Ms. Cole will queue up the names based on those that submitted their names through the live Q&A to start with.
Okay, so our first verbal speaker is Dawn Bushhouse. Ms. Bushhouse, if you're on the line, please press *6 to unmute your phone.
Hi, I'm Dawn Bushhouse, and I live close to the Manistee National Forest near Fremont, Michigan, and I treasure our water. Michigan is surrounded by it, and we are so fortunate. I'm a retiree, and I don't live close to where a Line 5 break would probably occur, but I value the quality of our water. We've already felt the pain of PFAS in our water and lead in our water near Flint. Let's not jeopardize our clean water more than we already have. Americans need to reduce their dependency on fossil fuels. We need to focus more on cleaner energy sources. Please close down Line 5. It's an accident waiting to happen. Enbridge has proven it's deceitful, unsafe, unreliable, devious. It's time to terminate our relationship with them regarding Line 5. Thank you for allowing me to comment.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bushhouse. The next person on the line is Mr. Keith Cooley. Mr. Cooley, if you'd like to press *6 to unmute your phone, you may address the commissioners.
Yes, I hope you can hear me. This is Keith Cooley. I am a clean energy management consultant and a resident of the city of Detroit. And my comments are intended to complement and magnify from a layman's point of view those of Attorney General Dana Nessel. First, the AG argues that this proposed project is manifestly not, as Enbridge claims, mere maintenance of Line 5 as authorized in the Commission's 1953 order. And I would agree. Enbridge is not maintaining this section of Line 5. If it were, today we would be debating the addition of supports that were long ago broken or lost. Enbridge would be seeking permission to repair the sections that its own data show are cracked, dented, and encrusted with mussels. And they would be detailing their plans to replate dozens of bare metal spots and/or coating gaps near 128 anchor locations, something it finally admitted misleading both Michigan and public federal officials about as recently as 2017. We should see this for what it really is. In reality, what Enbridge is doing with that section of Line 5 in the Straits is abandoning it. It is abandoning a 67-year-old portion of pipeline that was well beyond its engineered lifetime, about which it consistently declares built in 1953 and remains in excellent condition. Their words, my words would be that's clearly not true. We're happy that Enbridge is finally ready to leave the pipeline behind, but it needs to happen immediately, not in 4 to 10 years, as some experts say, and at a cost of between $350 and $500 million to construct a brand new tunnel and pipeline to which it will reroute the northern and southern ends of the Line 5 and not cross the state. We shouldn't be misled. This $500 million venture is not about maintenance. It is for a completely new project. That should require long, careful scrutiny in which Enbridge does not want Michigan to engage. And my second and final comment, the AG's argument that dispensing with review of Enbridge's pending application would be inconsistent with the Commission's legal obligation to determine whether proposed activity is likely to cause pollution and impairment or destruction of natural resources or the public trust. And again, I agree. As I understand it, Enbridge has recently applied for a tunnel construction permit that would, over the several years of build-out, increase loading of
2 minutes,
into
30
Lake Michigan.
seconds.
The volume could be up to 5 million gallons per day. Until we fundamentally understand what that would do to our water, air, and land as a systems issue, it is a systems issue with both second and third order and unintended consequences, we can't let the project go forward. The effects of loading pollutants into Lake Michigan won't be the only natural resource damages created by this tunnel project, and the damage won't be limited
3
to
minutes.
small areas near the strait. Is that 3 minutes?
Yes.
I'm sorry? Okay. Let me just say finally then, under Act 16 and Part 17 of NERIPA, these facts may mandate that the Commission commence a full and robust review of the tunnel and its feasible alternatives to prevent the ongoing destruction of Michigan's natural resources from Line 5, the intended changes to Line 5, and the burning of fossil fuels that come from Line 5. Sorry to be so long. Thank you for allowing me to comment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cooley. The next person waiting to speak is Mr. Todd Ellis. Mr. Ellis, please press *6 to unmute your line.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Todd Ellis. I am an environmental scientist and professor in Kalamazoo, Michigan. My comment is in regard to case U-20763. I want to applaud the Commission for ordering the application to use the contested case proceeding just in today's vote. I appreciate being able to have Enbridge's application go through the full contested case proceeding under Act 16. In looking at their application, a couple of things struck me. In Section 9, the application claims that Enbridge already has been granted authority based on their original agreements back to 1953. However, even a cursory examination of how Enbridge has acted with regard to their Lakehead pipeline system shows plenty of reason their actions bear re-examination by the Commission. As of now, there have been 33 known spills from that pipeline system, including 1.1 million gallon spill into the Kalamazoo River watershed in 2010. Earlier this month, the EPA noted that Enbridge had failed to inspect thousands of shallow dents that show evidence of metal loss or cracking in their pipelines, including the existing dual pipelines under the Straits of Mackinac. On June 18th, Enbridge reported that an anchor support for the eastern pipe of the dual pipelines had shifted. The full details of that incident haven't been publicly disclosed, including when Enbridge first learned of the incident. These are unanswered questions that arise from just a small sampling of events, and they're profound. They suggest Enbridge has not been fully transparent in its operation. In Section 9 of their application to the Commission, Enbridge requests that the Commission finds that the project reduces and minimizes potential adverse environmental impacts. The full contested case process would allow the Commission to bring discovery, testimony of expert witnesses, or legal briefing to bear on this application for what is ostensibly a brand new construction. Given the track record of Enbridge and for all the controversy surrounding this project, the contested case proceeding will be vital to ensuring that water in the Great Lakes, water that represents 90% of North America's entire freshwater budget, is safe. We have to get this right. Thank you to the Commission for their action today, and good luck moving forward. We all hope to comment.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ellis. At this time, we're going to mute all lines as an effort to try to eliminate some background noise that we've been experiencing. So Kyle, if you could please mute all lines. And then up next, waiting to speak, we have Hope Gerson from Grand Rapids. Ms. Gerson, please go ahead and press star. Excuse me, Ms. Hope Gerson, at this time, please go ahead and unmute your line by pressing *6 to address the commissioners. We'll give Ms. Gerson just another couple of moments. It's possible that you may be on mute, Ms. Gerson. If you would like to address the commission at this time, please press *6 to unmute your line.
Ms. Cole, we could always, this is Sally Talberg, we could always go back and see if Ms. Gerson's available if she had to step away for a moment.
Okay, we'll come back. We'll circle back around. At this time, we're going to go ahead and move back to some written comments that were submitted. Our next comment is from Ida. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name, from Kalamazoo. This is our chance to protect the Great Lakes, the ecosystem, and our drinking water. Enbridge has a poor track record and they cannot be trusted. Please hold them accountable, commissioners. Michiganders need you to protect our most valuable resource, which is the Great Lakes. Thank you very much for that comment. Next, we've received a written comment from Mary Scherzer from Rockford, Michigan. Ms. Scherzer says, it makes sense to me that Enbridge must undergo the full public review of Line 5 construction. Enbridge is asking for much more than routine maintenance of the pipeline. This deserves more public review. Also, the energy needs for this pipeline no longer exists. To have a spill in the Straits of Mackinac would devastate our Great Lakes. Thank you, Ms. Scherzer. We have received a written comment from Colleen Turk. Ms. Turk says, I live in Sheboygan with frontage on Lake Huron. I do not believe Enbridge has the necessary property rights for installation, operation, and maintenance of the replacement pipe segment because they have been proven negligent by the EPA in maintenance of similar tunnels. Michigan needs to retain full authority over the Great Lakes, not a for-profit corporation. Ms. Turk submitted an amendment that says Enbridge has been negligent in maintenance of similar pipelines. Thank you for that, Ms. Turk. We have received a written comment from Jesse Moran from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Private corporations cannot be trusted to have our state's precious resources as a priority. Enbridge has a long track record of safety violations and withholding information about the pipeline's condition from the public. The risk to the Great Lakes and all who rely on it is much too great to allow Line 5 or a tunnel to exist in our waters. Please shut down Line 5, refuse the tunnel, and hold Enbridge accountable for their actions and their impact on the environment. Thank you for that. Our next written comment is from Michael Buza. He says, I believe that Enbridge has demonstrated that they are not trustworthy. This has been recently demonstrated by the discovery of damage to the pipeline, and they started pumping oil through the pipeline without complete assessment of the damage. I believe that the tunnel is a diversion. The future looks like a diminishing demand for oil. The investment would not pay for itself. They want to use the old decrepit Line 5 as long as possible with a promise of a tunnel. If they do complete it, it will probably be an abandoned asset that the citizens of Michigan will be stuck with. Up next is a written comment from Loretta Crystal. Ms. Crystal says, Enbridge has not determined what caused the latest support failure along Line 5 pipeline through the Mackinac Straits. How can we trust them to self-monitor when they don't understand the dynamics of the currents under the straits? We can't. Thank you. Up next, we have a written comment from James Olson, legal counsel for Flow for Love of Water from Traverse City, Michigan. Thank you for moving this application into a full formal proceeding. The interests of the Great Lakes, the public trust in these waters and bottomlands clearly set the overarching framework and principles for determining the public interest, necessity, and alternatives analysis at issue in this case. Only a full and broad scope of review and analysis throughout the proceedings will achieve this overarching principle and framework. www.flowforwater.org, petitioner, intervener, Flow. Up next, we have a written comment from Ms. Jenkins in Detroit. We have an important role as protectors of one of the world's largest natural sources of water. The implications of another potential disaster following Flint and the Kalamazoo oil spill are enormous. Enbridge's reluctance to provide information to the public on the safety of their for-profit projects should serve as an extremely red flag. They have shown in the past with the Kalamazoo oil spill and in their desire to move forward without oversight that they are untrustworthy and unconscionable, and that we as Michigan citizens should be extremely concerned. Please, for our future's sake, shut down Line 5. A written comment from Doug F. in Ann Arbor. Building a tunnel and replacing Line 5 would take years to perform environmental studies and to construct this entirely new project. And in the meantime, our Great Lakes would remain at risk from a devastating oil spill from the 67-year-old damaged Line 5 pipeline. Enbridge is not a reliable and trustworthy partner. Shut it down. Up next, we have a written comment from Janet Moore. I want to agree with those who have commented on how Enbridge has not been a reliable company and we can't trust them to protect our precious Great Lakes. We have a very rare natural resource which we must watch over carefully. A written comment from Dr. Todd Ellis. Thank you for recognizing me. A written comment from Marita Holland, Gulliver, and Ann Arbor. As one who is a native Yooper who grew up along the Lake Michigan shoreline at Gulliver and chose to build a home there that is in trust for my descendants, I vigorously oppose a for-profit company with very sketchy past performance be permitted to build a new project that jeopardizes the Earth's unique natural resource. Thank you for your unflagging efforts to preserve and protect us all.
Can I register to make a comment?
We will get back to the phone lines in just one moment. We have another written comment from Hope Gerson. Hope says Enbridge has not shown good faith. They are not trustworthy. They have tried to avoid accountability. They left a big mess in the Kalamazoo watershed. I applaud the Commission for their decision today to hold a full contested case proceeding. We should not be prioritizing a project by a company that has clearly not held up their end of the original contract. We should not prioritize a costly fossil fuel project at a time that we need to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. Pipelines leak. That is what they do. This huge new project is not good for Michigan. I implore the Commission to act to hold Enbridge accountable. Thank you, Ms. Gerson. She says she was unable to unmute her line at the time she was asking to speak. So that was from Ms. Gerson. Written comment from Greg Surma from Interlaken. We have a responsibility to leave a positive legacy for our descendants. A pipeline carrying crude oil through our Great Lakes should not be one of them. A for-profit company that pays us nothing for the right to carry oil through the straits is a bad idea, especially when the vast majority is passed on to Canada via Sarnia. Commissioners, at this time, I would like to suggest that we open up the phone line for public comment. Chairman Talberg?
Yes, let's proceed. And again, just a reminder to hit *6.
So if there is someone on the phone who would like to make a comment that has not registered their name in the live Q&A, we will begin taking those comments over the phone at this time. I did hear a gentleman asking to speak.
Yes, this is Jim Bardenhagen, and I'd like to register. I am not able to get on the live stream for some reason, so I can't register online.
You have the floor. Please go ahead.
Okay, as I said, my name is Jim Bardenhagen. I'm a farmer in Suttons Bay, Michigan, and we're surrounded by Lake Michigan. And I thank the Public Service Commission for the opportunity to comment today. In a couple of points, Enbridge has proven not to be reliable, and as such, any project by them needs to be under the Public Service Commission overview to hold them accountable. Second point is perhaps Enbridge can separate the oil from the natural gas. The natural gas could perhaps use the line as it would be less risky than oil to the Great Lakes. They should find another way to transport the oil via tank car, barge, or ship to its destination. This would minimize the risk to the Great Lakes. The other alternative is to close Line 5. Thank you for the ability to comment. Jim Bardenhagen.
Thank you, Mr. Bartenhagen. Is there anyone else on the telephone who would like to address the commission at this time? If so, please unmute your line by pressing *6.
Yes, I'd like to.
Oh, who is speaking, please?
My name is Bob Vance. I live in Petoskey. I have a Safari and I was unable to watch this via the internet, so.
You have the floor, please go ahead.
Okay, I agree with most of what's been said already, so I'll kind of cut it to some comments that I thought about that are a little bit different. Line 5 deserves much, much closer scrutiny, not less. Allowing the company to proceed in spite of its history of lack of transparency, as well as its repeated failures to adequately address and rectify problems that have resulted in environmental havoc, is not in the interest of the people of the state of Michigan and its spectacular environmental gifts and heritage. Bizarrely enough, Enbridge is using this repeated shutdowns of Line 5 in the past few years as a way to push through their ill-conceived plan to build a tunnel under the straits to replace the ailing and dangerous pipeline. The history of the relationship between Michigan and Enbridge shows that allowing the company to move forward with its plan to build a tunnel under the straits, in spite of its history of outright failure, consistent obfuscation, and dishonesty, is certainly ill-advised. As we look into the future of energy production, distribution, and use, it is clear that the technology that Enbridge wishes the people of Michigan to underwrite and maintain is rapidly becoming obsolete. Surely the resources of the state of Michigan, as well as the well-being of its citizens, would be better served through an investment in the future of energy production and use as opposed to its past. There are so many unanswered questions and unaddressed quandaries and scenarios that accompany the transport of gas and oil across a vital and dynamic waterway like the Straits of Mackinac, not to mention its vast watershed. To leave these questions and potentially disasters unaddressed while the ailing pipeline remains in operation is short-sighted and potentially catastrophic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that comment. We have a request to speak from Ethan Rowe. Mr. Rowe, if you could please unmute your line by pressing *6.
I am Ethan Rowe from Traverse City, and Line 5 is a total threat to the Great Lakes, and it's also completely obsolete because there are many ways to meet Michigan's energy needs without Line 5. And it's completely ridiculous to keep it open when we should be switching to more renewable and cleaner ways to get energy. Also, it's completely dangerous because they've had several times where it has endangered the Great Lakes, and there's no reason to think that that won't continue to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else waiting on the phone that has not registered to speak? We'll try to go one at a time.
Hello, Danelle Benner, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Danelle. Please go ahead and address the commission. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you. I'm Danelle Benner. I'm from the Grand Rapids area, Kentwood to be specific, and I'm not going to take a lot of time because I'm not going to repeat what's already been said quite eloquently. I just want to thank the commission for doing the responsible thing today. No one benefits from this pipeline, absolutely no one, but Enbridge, and they are a Canadian for-profit company. There is no interest to the public in Michigan or anywhere else in the United States to continue the operation of this pipeline, much less without oversight. So I simply want to thank the Commission for their responsible action today to move this to a full vetted contested hearing, and I appreciate the transparency. that is also being provided, giving the public the opportunity to follow what's happening and to have some input into this process. So thank you very much for your action today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think I heard someone else on the phone that would like to speak. All right, hearing none at this time, we'll check back in a minute. There are a couple of written comments that have been received. I will turn to those at this time. We received a second written comment from Miss Loretta Crystal. Miss Crystal, we will go ahead and add this to the record with what you had already submitted previously. We received a written comment from Rachel Damon. My name is Rachel Damon, and I am a born and raised in Lansing, Michigan. The Great Lakes are a precious resource to not only our state, but to our country. Water is a resource that is limited and essential for life, for animals, plants, humans, and all other forms of life. Oil is a dangerous pollutant that destroys and is extremely difficult to clean up. Even if Enbridge was reliable, it is not worth any amount of risk to the fragile ecosystems of the Great Lakes. Thank you to the Commission for its active listening to the community, and especially to those of Indigenous tribes who are even more linked to the land and water than anyone. Their voices should be considered highly. Also, if there were to be a spill, then our tourism would be highly impacted and cause damage to our economy, and that is the last thing we need after the chaos of 2020. Thank you for all who have commented. I have learned a lot, and it gives me hope for our state and country. Thank you for your time, and happy Independence Day. There are not any other written comments submitted into that live Q&A portion of the meeting at this time. We'll turn back to the phones one more time. Is there anyone on the phone waiting to address the Commission? If so, please press *6 to unmute your line.
Hello.
Michael Arlo. Hello.
Okay. I heard two people. I heard Michael Harlow. Go ahead, Michael Harlow. You have the floor, and then we'll follow up with the other lady when we're done.
Actually, it's Michael Arlo, A-R-L-O-W, and I lived in Marshall, Michigan during the 2010 oil spill on the Kalamazoo River. I regularly commuted between Marshall and Bloomfield Hills, where I live now, and I did that by airplane. I had an airplane at the Marshall Brooksfield Airport, and I was able to fly over the Kalamazoo Oil River spill and see the danger of such activities. I cannot believe that Enbridge is doing this. They cannot be trusted, and it's got to be stopped now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arlo. Who else did I hear that was wishing to speak?
Carol Fletcher.
Thank you, Ms. Fletcher. Please continue.
I'm a native Michigander, a resident of Ann Arbor, and also own a vacation home in Presque on Lake Huron, north of Alpena. Clearly, that area would be highly affected by an oil spill, which would certainly decrease property values. But that really isn't my main concern. The main concern is for the environment as a whole. One has only to think of the effects of the Exxon Valdez or the Deepwater Horizon that have lasted for years and years and years and destroyed countless wildlife and the surrounding areas. That's irreplaceable. I don't care how many billions of dollars the company comes up with in compensation. That just doesn't match. Thank you for holding this hearing. Thank you for continuing to press forward with this issue.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else on the phone that is waiting to address the Commission? We did receive another written comment. It is from Michael from Grand Rapids. Many of these comments appear to be focused on issues unrelated to the MPSC's jurisdiction. While these commenters are welcome to their opinions, I urge the MPSC to instead follow its statutory authority in a proper review of this case and to not get embroiled in unrelated controversies that are currently being litigated in other arenas. Let's check back in with the phone at this time. Is there anyone on the phone that is still waiting to address the commissioners? If so, please press *6 to unmute your line. At this time, it does not appear that there is anyone waiting to comment to address the commission, and there are no further written comments that have not already been read.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cole. I just first of all want to acknowledge your assistance in helping us receive public comment. We continue to refine our processes and would also ask participants today, based on your experience and being able to provide comment both through the phone and through the web-based system, if you have any feedback for us as we evaluate our options and prepare for the August 24th public hearing and other opportunities before the commission. We're learning as we go, and we appreciate your feedback, and you can submit that to the email website that's on today's meeting notice. It's mpsc_commissioners@michigan.gov. Just a couple other closing comments. I want to acknowledge the commission. We're a very small agency in state government, but we have a tremendous impact on the 10 million Michiganders that we serve. And a lot of that responsibility rests with the staff that work day in, day out on a whole range of cases, including this one that's obviously very important for our state and for the commission. And so I just want to, acknowledge their hard work and commitment to prepare the commissioners for today's order and next steps as we move forward in this case and have a host of other important matters before the commission. And this is at a time when the state employees are furloughed and it just can add a lot of stress to them. So I just want to acknowledge their hard work. I also want to acknowledge Commissioner Scripps and Commissioner Phillips for their thoughtfulness in addressing the issues before the commission on this case and all the matters before us. It's really an honor to serve with both of you. And then finally, I just have a couple reminders. One, the website for Line 5, you can just go to our main MPSC website and there's a link from there to find up-to-date information on this Line 5 case before the commission. We'll have the order from today, the press release available. Additional information will be posted as we have the details for the August 24th public hearing and other developments occurring. And then you can also sign up for the listserv so that you're not having to check the website on a routine basis, and you can get updates on key developments in the case. And all case filings are publicly available through our eDocket system, and by typing in the docket number, you can access them all and also sign up to receive direct notifications. So with that, I just want to again thank everyone for participating. We have a recording of all the comments from today's meeting, both written and verbal, and we appreciate you all joining us today. And with that, concludes the public comment period. Right, next, just a couple of announcements. The next regular commission meeting is scheduled for July 9th, 2020 at 1:30 p.m. And I'll ask to see if there's a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I move to adjourn today's special meeting.
Commissioner Phillips?
I second the motion.
We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion to adjourn the meeting. Commissioner Scripps?
Aye.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries by unanimous vote and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.